And he just told me, man, just come over here, see what we're doing. The grass is greener over here, but it'll show for itself. Like, come over here and just
Sure.
at least see. And so I was like, you know what, I'll give it a shot. Like, what do I have to lose, And lo and behold, I come over here, and in the first week I make more than I did in 2 months over there.
Hello, everybody. Grady Polson here, Family First Live America. So excited to have Coleton Collins on with us. He's a phenomenal producer, phenomenal agency manager, and built an impressive team quickly and figured out selling. He's doing some unique things from a selling standpoint right now, working out of his office and really taking the business seriously. So I'm excited to have him on. It's a long time coming. I feel like I've had a bunch of your team on. I'm like, I got to get to the top of this thing and see who the real leadership is or driving the volume here. So excited to have you on here, brother. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. I appreciate you having me on. It has been a long time coming, but you've had the right people on. Our team's a bunch of dogs, bunch of incredible people.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Well, I would love for everyone to get to know you, right? There's always some parallels to what people are going through, what they've gone through, that you've overcome, how you overcame it. Your background's going to be similar to most. You didn't fall out the womb learning how to sell life insurance. I'm sure it was hard at the beginning, and you thought about quitting many times, and you pushed through and surrounded yourself with great people. But I would love to hear your story and everyone get to know you more.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll kind of start from the top. Originally, so before I got involved in all of this, I was from Washington State, a little town called Spokane. And out there, I was delivering medical equipment to hospice patients. So,
Okay.
like their oxygen machines, hospital beds, portable toilets, all the works that you can think of, going in and out of old folks' homes, all that jazz. And working $12 an hour, had no idea that there was even the possibility to make a lot of money out there. It's a decently small town, and at that point, me and one of my buddies, we look at each other and we're like, man, if we don't leave here, we're going to be stuck doing the same thing for $12 an hour the rest of our lives. Um, and so out of nowhere, we just signed a lease down here in Scottsdale. I had never been here before, never visited. We were just like, screw it. Let's see what happens. Our attitudes were like, worst case, we come back in a year. Best case, we figure our lives out. And so came down here, no job, nothing, didn't know what the heck I was doing. I had like $4. I was just living life on the edge.
Just
Um,
did he know anybody here?
Nah, nope. We originally were gonna go to California, and then we started looking, and we're like, yeah, we can't afford that. And so this was kind of right before Scottsdale got like super popular, or what it's felt like has gotten super popular. And so it was decently affordable, and we were like, screw it, let's just see what happens. Um, Came down here, got a job at a car lot, and was probably the worst car salesman you have ever seen. I didn't sell one car. I think I test drove one minivan with a couple, had no idea what I was doing. And I was starting to spiral. I'm like, what did I get myself into? Um, and from there, started working in the hospitality nightlife industry, bar backing and as a security guard and all that good stuff. Did that for like 5, 6 years. And
Okay.
then kind of fast forward to COVID happening. That's when I got involved in the mortgage industry. And that was kind of my first taste of sales, first taste of making a little bit of money. I was always working 2, 3 jobs just to kind of scrape by. And once I started there, I got a couple of those checks. I was like, dang, I made it. Like I figured out my life. Everything's all good. I figured my career out. I started dating my now fiance at the time,
Awesome.
and so everything was all good. And then all of a sudden it wasn't, right? Interest rates went up. I had no idea. I came in when everything was like 2%, 3%, and you could call a rock and sell it a mortgage. I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. Um, and so once that all went up, I all of a sudden was back at square one. I'm like, I'm making like $1,000 a month. Like I went into panic, you know. I was like, what the hell am I going to do with my life? I thought I had my career figured out. I thought I had all these things lined up, and then it all came crashing down. And you know, I have to mention, like, bless my incredible fiance's heart. She's stuck by my side when my dang debit card was declining at dinner to where we're at now. She's kind of the real MVP of the whole operation. But
Awesome.
um, you know, from there I started brainstorming. I'm like, what the heck am I gonna do? I knew I wanted to be in sales. You know, I had a little taste of the money, had a little taste of the freedom, and kind of saw the opportunity it had to offer. And then from there, that's kind of when I got introduced to the insurance industry. I had a buddy of mine who he works at a practice company, or the practice company I worked at. Um, and he seemed to always be doing all right for himself. So I was like, let's see what this is about. Because obviously mortgages is not going anywhere right now. Um, and so I got licensed, started selling, and kind of realized pretty quickly something was off where I was at. You know, I'd protect 10 families and I'd get paid for like two. I'm like, what the heck's going on here? And that's kind of in walks good old Bowen Sweeney. In my DMs over and over and over. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go see what this guy has to see or say. I knew he was kind of in the same space, but I didn't know anything at the time about literally any of the differences in the industry. I just knew one company, and that was it.
So you were
Uh,
at the same practice company that they were at?
I was,
Got it.
but after them, so I didn't know them when I worked there, and I'm sure he saw, you know, now I look back, I'm like, oh, it was a recruiting tactic, but he had, he had, mutual friends that I like played high school football against. So we had mutual connections and whatnot. And he just told me, man, just come over here, see what we're doing. You know, the grass is greener over here, but it'll show for itself. Like, come over here and just
Sure.
at least see. And so I was like, you know what, I'll give it a shot. Like, what do I have to lose, you know? And you know, lo and behold, I come over here, and in the first week, I make more than I did in 2 months over there. And I'm like, all
Lead,
right, I'm
leads are
all
the way,
in.
right? Good.
Yeah. And so, and that was kind of a big foreign thing to me at that point. I'm like, I gotta buy leads, I gotta invest in a business, like what the heck? And then, you know, I I bought, like, Bowen's like, hey, I'll match you, whatever you do, I'll put in, and then we can sit here and dial together. I was like, you know what, screw it, I got $1,000, like, let's just go for gold and see what happens. And first day you sell a policy and make, or like two families or whatever it is, and I'm like, holy crap, like my whole life is changing, and it's like day one. And then you kept doing the same thing, day two, day three, day four, day five, and I just kept doing the same dang thing over and over and over. And just listened to Bowen. Really, you know, I saw that he was in a spot where I wanted to be at, and this was at the time, I think Never Settle was doing like 800 families a month. Fast forward now, they're at like 5,000, right? Or
Yeah.
right under. And it's like, holy crap, the growth that's happened all around. But yeah, so from there, you know, and now here we are. And I think I think this month is my 2 year mark with FFL. And it's really kind of just honestly been the most life-changing thing that for me and my family. You know, I started in June of 2022. By November, I think I was personally doing around 50, 60 families, which for me at that time, I was personally producing a bunch. I'm like, this is the coolest thing ever. Didn't know anything about building. I don't think I'd ever sent a recruiting message. I don't think I ever DM'd anybody. Because I was a little too nervous to do it. I'm
Sure.
just comfortable. I'm like, yeah, I'm producing. Let's do the dang thing. And from there, Bone introduced me to my good friend now, Devin Nilsson, or D Nilly, as some of us all know him. And we started kind of working together, just day in and day out, sun up, sun down at the Mesa office.
Yeah.
And we were going in home, we were doing virtual, we were trying freaking everything known to man because we knew the business worked, and so we just became obsessed with it. And from there, then Troy Cassidy walked in, and between the three of us, we hit logo, I think, in February or March of 2023. And then from there, the business has just snowballed. I mean, in January of 2023, the three of us did 67 families. fast forward to May of this year, we're at 958 families, which is just insane to think of, you know? Um, and so I've been blessed with the most amazing team, you know, the Derricks, the D Nillys, Troys, Bowens. This room that I'm in is so incredible, and the people I work with and the support system I have is it's all thanks to them at the end of the day. You know, I'd be nothing without the circle that surrounds me. And so yeah, I mean, here we are. We're just head down, keep doing the same dang things, be consistent, and look up and holy crap, here we're at. Here we are.
What does your fiance think about all this?
She loves it. I mean, it's definitely, I think she's gonna get licensed here pretty soon.
Yeah,
And just kind of join the train. And we're getting actually a year from today, we get married. So a year from today is our wedding.
there you
Um,
go.
and so she's excited for the future. She's watched it from start to finish. You know, like I said, we were out at dinner. It's probably the most heartbreaking time I've ever had in my whole life. I'm like trying to impress her. We're just starting talking, and I go to pull my debit card out because all my credit cards were maxed. And I thought I had like $60 and the bill was like 52. And the guy comes back. Apparently I didn't have enough for the bill. And he comes back, he's like, yeah, your card declined. I'm like, oh my goodness gracious. Like heart in my stomach. I'm like, I just screwed that one up. And then she just pulls her debit card out or credit card or whatever at the time. She's like, I got it. You're good. Like, and from there, I was like, dang, I think I'm in love. Like,
Yeah, that's
like that was a huge thing. Cause I'm like, dang, she doesn't care. And so that gave me the confidence to go try things, to do things like this and just go all in and see if it works because at the end of the day, I mean it does. If you take a chance on yourself and you really work, it'll work for you. And so yeah.
that's awesome. Yeah, it's support of a good partner gives you it's almost like a cheat code, right? It's
Oh
like a
yeah.
visibility cloak because you've got someone that's got your back, and they pick you up on down days, they cheer with you on up days. Um, the the problem a lot of people will enter when going into a new entrepreneurial based business is they have a partner that doesn't trust them. Now they don't not trust them like infidelity, but they don't trust them because they've asked them to do things and maybe they didn't do them, or they've asked them to try, go do, you know, go
Yeah.
rake the leaves, and here it is 6 months later and the leaves aren't raked, and you think about like it's just little micro things, and maybe they've tried entrepreneurial ventures before that they just didn't go too haul in on, and I always, my advice to people who are in relationships and they don't have a lot of spousal or fiance or girlfriend or support is, if you go work harder at this than you've ever worked at anything else, whether it's up early on calls, it's dialing late, it's personal growth, it's doing the work, the dialing work, right? When I was getting going and I'm like, hey, honey, we need to spend $2,000 on leads. She was like, and I'm like, so, you've got to prove, and I'm in the office, I'm in my office 12 hours a day, tank top, backwards hat, and board shorts, trying to just sweat and dialing my old Android phone, trying to get a hold of people to book appointments. And, when your partner sees you just working, the faith. And so I'm sure on that first date, you talked about your goals or what you want to do, or what you like. It wasn't like, hey, I want to go get I want to get a job at the government to get a nice pension and, hopefully retire in 42 years. Like, it was like, no, I'm doing this. Someday I want to start a business. I'd love to do this. Like, you're talking to this person and then your card declines and she's like, well, he must have just spent a bunch of money on leads or something. He's got a lot of ads out right now. So she's like, I'm going to bet on this one. And, that's what good relationships can do, is they don't just make you 2 times better, they make you multiple exponentially better, because they allow you to go run at something that you believe in, and they see how much you believe in it, and then your effort and your work ethic compounds it, and they're just now cheering you on. And then when you have a hard day, it's like, hey, tomorrow will be better, get back on the phones, you're going to do it. And you're like, okay, you're right, I don't want to quit. All right, I'm not, I'm like, I'm going to move forward. So
100%.
I love it, man. So let's talk about let's talk about production, right? So we'll jump into some building, and I want to hear more about, you know, recruiting and what you're doing, how maybe you found some of your top guys, maybe, you know, how the courting process with them and that type of stuff. But I love, you know, my always goal is, you know, day one, let's get you selling. And once you get selling a little bit, you don't need to go be selling a ton to go start recruiting, but get a micro bit of confidence. Then we can get you at introducing to other people. And then you can start to build a business, right? Because when we're just selling, we're an employee of our business. When we have agents that we work with, now we're a manager and we have built a business that then has income coming in, whether or not we're selling. And that's an incredible thing. That's instead of being the cashier at Chipotle, that's owning 7 Chipotles. And just making sure that the chicken doesn't spoil, right? Like so I'd love if you talk about what's your philosophy on production, what does your day look like, what it leads. Let's just jump into it. You know, what you're doing today, and then I'd love to get, you know, even some word tracks, some opens, a couple rebuttals, and then how you're closing it, just for everyone here who's getting going in their production. This is what a top producer does.
Yeah, no, absolutely. As far as production goes, like I always want to be somewhat like I was always taught when I came in, like you have to lead from the front in everything you do. Like nobody is going to follow me in this business if I can't sell. So I need to know how to sell. I need to stay sharp. If I'm training new people, I need to know how to respond to a rebuttal, or I need to know about products or this, that, and the other. It's not like you just build a team and all of a sudden you stop selling. Like I want to continuously make X amount off my personal pen because that is what I get to control. Like I have control over my business, but I don't control what other people do and how they work. I can control how I work. So at the end of the day, I know if my business collapsed tomorrow, I would still be able to provide for my family because I have taught myself from a production standpoint what to do, and just put in the work to get there. There's not really like, there's no secret sauce to it. I feel like I have so many people come in and like, they think there's some sort of like magic to it or something. It's truly just about becoming obsessed with it and working your ass off. Most of us, you know, come from those 9 to 5 regular jobs where we're forced to be obsessed with someone else's company, or we're forced to be obsessed for at least that 8 hours a day. Whether you want to be or not, you're forced to be there. And it's mind-blowing sometimes. It's like if you come over here, you're going to be obsessed with your business and your day and in control of what you do. Like, why wouldn't you be, right? And so, from a production standpoint, I mean, that was the biggest thing. I think you had mentioned as far as leads go and stuff, what I'm
Yeah.
doing. Ultimately, right now, so when I first started, we were in home, so leads and all that stuff looked a little bit different, right? You could buy the crappiest lead on planet Earth, talk your way into booking an in-home appointment, and before you know it, you're selling them insurance. A lot different when you're in person with them.
Are you going to be home after 5 before and they're telling
Yeah.
okay, I got to get you to sign this packet off to get it off my desk. And then
Exactly.
you just
And now I think back, I'm like, holy crap. I mean, I'm sure there's still some people that are going in home, but I'm like, that was kind of sketchy of me going around Phoenix by myself. Like there's
you're a
some tough
big dude.
areas.
You're fine.
Oh, I think back to, I'm like, gosh dang, it's like pitch black out. There's boards on people's windows. I'm
Yeah.
here for your life insurance. But from there, you know, we kind of found that we needed to find like at least for us, a more effective route for leads. And you know, once we started going virtual, that's when the beneficiary leads started coming out, and those were amazing when we started. And then ethos and all that good stuff, and those are still awesome leads, and a lot of our teams still run that, supplement them, all the works. Like we're still buying through the lead center every day. But I've also transitioned over to more like self-gen type stuff. So I have a guy who runs my ads for me, and he brings me directly. I get them directly put into my system, and there's just a little more exclusivity with it.
Sure.
As far as they're mine, I know that, and ultimately, it gives people the opportunity to book on my calendar, and that's kind of the big thing for me as I'm building. I'm not dialing as much as I used to. When I was just selling, it was 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. I am on the phone burner all day. I'd eat lunch, come back all day. Me, Denilly, Troy, we'd be sitting there back to back in the war room in the Mesa office, just dialing and yelling all day. And so now that my time's not quite as it looks a little different to have something where people are booking on my calendars. I work with a lot of first responders, veterans. I do a lot more mortgage protection, these kind of things that I feel like with the first responders and veterans that I work with, they understand the importance of life insurance because a lot of them have seen a lot of things in their day-to-day work, whatever it is, when they were in the service. But as well as they have income. And that was kind of one of the big things I found with a lot of when I was just doing final expense, people didn't have income. They were working on Social Security. And so me being a brand new agent, being dumb, someone would be like, yeah, I make $750 a month. I'd sell them a policy for like $200. And it's like, obviously they weren't going to be able to afford that. Right.
Yeah.
And I didn't know any better. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just like, oh yeah, this sounds good. You said yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Now I've been able to take a step back, really like work with a little bit with people with a little more income or whatever the case. And it kind of gives me a little bit more freedom to sell whatever it is that they really want and really help them kind of get into a place that they really want to be in rather than, being limited behind X, Y, and Z factors of whatever is going on behind the scenes with the client. And so, yeah, as far as leads go, that's kind of where I'm at right now with it.
Okay.
And yeah.
Ballpark, what do you spend a month?
I have from day one, and this was one thing I learned very fast. So Bowen said when I first started, he's like, "What are you willing to put in?" It's $1,000. Okay, so from there, he's like, "You made your sale, you made your money back, reinvest that." I have done the same amount lead spend from day one, every week, $1,000 a week, so about 4 grand a month
Yeah.
since I started. And obviously, I know sometimes that's not doable for everyone, so it might look a little different. It might be 250, it might be 500, it might be whatever it is. But the biggest thing with lead spend is just be consistent. Do the same thing, even if you don't want to buy leads. Buy leads, dial the phone. Like you're going to make the return on your investment if you work the phone. If you buy leads and they just sit in your phone burner, obviously you're not gonna make any money. But ultimately, he told me keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it, build the lead flow, invest like over and over again. And I kept doing it and it ultimately paid off because I mastered my craft in a sense. I still learn a lot every day. I'm by no means a master of it, but the consistency just pays off. It keeps you sharp. It keeps cash flow coming, it keeps lead flow coming. If you just do things over and over and over, it's going to work out for you eventually. And I mean, the biggest thing with it is for me personally, the biggest thing was dialing 7 a.m., 7 p.m. every single day, nonstop, get as many at bats as I could, make the constant improvements in everything I was doing. If I didn't sell something, I was learning from it. If I closed it, awesome. If not, like the 10 presentations, let's say I did a day, let's say I didn't close 9 of them, that was 9 lessons. I was taking something from it to perfect my next one. And so, yeah, I mean, that's kind of the biggest thing there.
That's such a good mindset too. And one thing about being consistent in lead purchasing is you always then have new leads when you're ready to go. Maybe you've got family obligation, maybe you've got, something you want to go do and you want to take a couple of days off. Well, you've got those leads, your new leads. But on top of that, the bigger benefit is you're going to work through them. And I always heard stories, and when I got started is, you get a batch of 100 leads, work the heck out of them, make plenty of production, and you can take that batch and you can give it to new agents. I mean, obviously pull out your sales, but you can give the 80 that are whatever left to a new agent, and they're going to dial through them and they're going to make 1 or 2 sales, and then take the 78 and have them go work through them. And you can I've heard stories, you can give a batch of leads away 30 times.
Oh
And it's
man,
always going to be able to.
Some of our new agents have been selling my leads from like September and August of last year. And like they're a year old. And I'm like, you sold another one from that batch? Like, what the heck was I doing?
Yeah.
Like, really? And so that's the beauty of it too. Like you said, is now I have such a lead flow built up that if I have someone new come in, it's like, okay, perfect. Let's get your practice in with these. Let's run through these. You're going to find some sales. Let's wipe the dust off or whatever it is, get you sharp on the phone, and then you feel confident investing your money. So it's set me up by continuously doing that to not only keep my production up, but help new agents get started, like you're saying, help put them in a position to feel confident investing their money.
Yeah.
And then from there, it's just kind of a matter of putting in the work.
Well, let's hear the magic words you put together that put you in this, like, what's I don't ever role play because I just end up saying silly things, and then we're giggling. But I would love it if you would just, like, what's your first 30, 60, 90? What's your mindset going to the call? What are you saying to take complete control and like get them to the financial inventory?
Yeah, so the biggest thing with my presentation, my sale, and this is what I try to tell people or new people is just take the sale out of it. All I'm doing is educating this person on the phone, right? So if I educate them properly, because we're the licensed professionals, it's going to make sense for them to buy the product. If I get on the phone and I try to sound like a salesman, I sound like a little giddy schoolgirl when I go through my intro, like they're gonna hang up on me. They're not gonna want to talk to that guy. So for me, it's like, hey Grady, this is Coleton. And I talk slowly. Hey, this is Coleton. I had a couple moments here before my next meeting. I just wanted to touch base with you about the request it looks like you made for life insurance and depending on the lead type, for veterans. Had any of my guys or gals got that information out to you yet? And then they're either going to say yes or no. Most of the time, they're going to say no because none of the guys or gals have gotten out to it. But for me, I say that, have any of my guys or gals got that information out to you yet? Because ultimately, it takes the pressure away from you trying to do something with them right now. You're more so someone just trying to resolve something that's on your computer. It sounds way less pressure. Um, Saying it like that, as well as it gives you kind of that manager role. My guys or gals, have any of them got that information out to you yet? No? Okay, awesome. Well, this does only take me a couple minutes just to run over this with you. Do you happen to have a pen and paper handy? That way you can just take down some of my information. Awesome. Do you also receive text messages? I'm going to send you over my license as well as just a few of my credentials, a little business card, and I send a copy of my digital license. Like, I go download all of them from every state. I send a copy of that as well as a little business card I made on Canva, to every single client, no matter what. Because if I don't sell them, they're going to go back to those text messages and ultimately contact me, as well as everything I do with my script is I try to avoid the objections later on by doing things in the beginning. So I'm verifying myself by sending those credentials off the jump. That way, when I get into that application and I ask for their social, before I ask for the social, I'm like, hey, just to make sure, did you get that text message with my state license as well as my business card? Okay, awesome. You did. Perfect. And then last thing here, they're just going to run your social through the MIB, blah, 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 do the whole spiel on it. And then there's way less them being like, oh, I don't want to give that to you, because they re-verified my credentials with the state right then and there. And that's kind of my intro. And then I always play the manager card. Like, from there, it's like, perfect. I'm going to send you over my license information, all my credentials. I am one of the managers here in the office assigned to your request. It's pretty simple, easy process here. I'll just run through about 4 or 5 questions with you. Some pretty easy knockout questions just to point us in the right direction. And then the biggest thing I can even do throughout the entire process for you is just make sure this is even something we do actually qualify for. Does that make sense? Yes? Perfect. And then I just go into the financial inventory from there. And so my whole goal of every presentation is to go with the least. I do everything to prepare myself for the least amount of objections. Like,
Yeah.
I used to just run into so many because of the way I was presenting. And now it's like I try to knock all those things out, where every question I say that ultimately usually gets an objection, they're not going to give it one because I've already kind of explained it earlier. I've already verified everything earlier in it, and it's like, oh, okay, perfect. Yeah, here's my social 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I don't remember filling that out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I honestly hardly remember what I ate for breakfast. But at the end of the day, it does so here. Your date of birth is 1/16/54. Okay, perfect. And this is Joe Smith, correct? Okay, awesome. Yeah, it just does look like it was filled out here on my end. My job's just to get it resolved so you stop getting these calls. Like I said, it does only take me a minute or two here. So if you have that pen and paper, we can knock this out really quick together.
All right. I think I already got that taken care of.
Okay, awesome. I always with this one, I'm like, awesome. Do you remember which carrier and how much coverage you got? And do you know who you were working with? Which one of our agents? And then from there, they usually are bluffing a lot of the time, so they don't know. I'm like, okay, no worries. Yeah, it is a little concerning here on my end, being one of the managers. It does still show as open. So I just want to make sure everything was taken care of like you're saying it is. Do you have a couple minutes here? I can knock this out with you. Just make sure it all actually gets resolved and all the paperwork gets sent out to you.
Um, I'm pretty busy right now.
Yeah, no, I totally understand. I'm pretty busy as well. Ultimately, like I said, this only takes about a minute or two. It's just me running through a couple quick questions. That way we can get all the paperwork sent out to you here. Go ahead and grab that pen and paper, and then I'll have you jot down some of my information. And then if they say no again, I'll set an appointment. But when you set appointments with these people, always give them 2 times. The biggest mistake I see a lot of new agents make is they go to set an appointment with someone on the phone and they're like, okay, yeah, I'll call you in the afternoon. And I'm like, whoa, what are we doing here? Like, it's like, okay, what time works best for you? Is it morning, afternoon, evening? Perfect. Evening. Okay, I have a 5 p.m. and a 7 p.m. available. Which one's better for you? And then you lock in that time. It was the same thing when we were booking in-home appointments. It's, hey, I have a 2 p.m. and a 2:30. Which one's better for you? Okay, 2:30. I'm locking you in for that time. And then I'll send the client a text message just with an appointment. Hey, this is Colton. It was a pleasure speaking. I look forward to talking to you tonight at 6 p.m.
Cool.
And I try to lock that in as much as possible. But obviously, we want to get them going right then and there. But it's not a perfect system, so it doesn't always work.
Smooth, bro. Smooth. I always did I need you to go get a pen to write down your confirmation number. 9W47. I'd be like 6:15 or 6:45, which works better for you? Because then in psychology, they think it's only 20 minutes. I'm showing up at 6:45 anyway, but I need you to write down your confirmation code. It's 9W. You get that? 47. To make sure you write that down, you got to give me to verify at the door. You know,
Yeah. One of the biggest things too is dumb all time frames down that are in your script. So instead of saying, hey, this is going to take 5 to 10 minutes, hey, this is going to take 2 to 3, you're going to be on the phone for 30. But nobody wants to hear. If someone calls me and they're like, this will take us 10 minutes, I am hanging the phone up personally. I don't have time to sit there for 10 minutes in my head. Do I? Of course. But same thing with them. Same thing with like, hey, I'm going to run through about 4 or 5 questions. I'm not saying, hey, I'm going to run through 17 questions with you. They're going to be like, no, thanks. So I always dumb everything way down, make it sound like it's going to take 2 minutes. Sure, have I been called out on it? Hey, man, I thought you said this was only going to take 2 minutes. It's been 35. I'm like, yeah, well, you had a few questions, sir. Sorry, I had to answer them all.
exactly. That's 1 out of 100. They
Yeah.
do that too.
All of a sudden by the end of it you're like, oh shoot, they're reading their account number to you and you're like, oh, I thought you didn't have time, or you told them it was going to take 2 minutes and now you're best friends and they're sending you pictures of their dogs. So
Yes.
it's just a matter of getting in the door, and by getting in the door you're not going to do that by giving people these large amounts of tasks that'll be at hand, or these large amount of times that they're going to be on the phone with you.
So how do you close and lock it down? So what's the like last 1 minute of the call, and then what do you do post call to build, credibility, rapport? What do you send anything? How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, as far as once I've gone through an application, gotten them approved, all the work's there. I do the classic, you want the good news or the bad news? And they're like, oh, give me the bad news. I'm like, you're stuck with me, Joe. because you got instantly approved for the coverage, yada, yada, yada. Pretty basic. I just run through the coverage again with them. Just so you're aware, again, this is going to take effect on the 15th of the month. This is that 40,000 of coverage for $150 a month. If you ever want to make any changes, do anything, make sure you save that number that I texted you from with my state license and everything. You can save it as Coleton Insurance Guy, however the heck you want to remember me. But at the end of the day, I will be the only one contacting you regarding this. And if you need to make changes, you can contact me directly. Ultimately, there shouldn't be anyone else reaching out to you other than from either Mutual of Omaha, or America, or whoever it is, or myself. And if they do, just feel free to give them my information. But you shouldn't be receiving any more calls from anyone within my company. And then from there, I have them save my number, just cement everything. And yeah, I don't go too crazy in depth. I don't make my presentation's pretty fast, to be
Sure.
honest. Like I know like Troy has an incredible presentation. His is like 2 hours. I'm like a 20 to 30 minute kind of guy.
Are you in or
It
you out,
works for
Bob? Are
it.
you in or you
No, and
out?
it works for him amazingly. I mean, he outproduces me like a freight train. But I can't stay on the phone that long. So I dumb my stuff down to that 20 to 30 minutes. And I just make sure all the major points are brought across to the client and they understand exactly what's going on with their coverage. And I've kind of had to honestly retrain my brain from when I first started, because for the people that have been here a long time, the way we used to get paid and things like that by these companies, it was so much different. Like you could just push business out and you didn't really worry about quality, which
Yeah.
I had to basically retrain myself on how to sell once all that changed, and for the better. People
Sure.
that are starting now, it is so much better. Like it protects so much more that way.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I had to retrain myself how to sell, how to cement, how to get people to get an instant draft or effective immediately or whatever the case, so I'm getting paid, they're paying their premiums, all the works. But yeah, that's kind of my last few lines. And I just make sure they save my number, make sure I'm the one they're contacting, triple check that, send them a copy of their policy electronically, follow up that they got it, all
What's
the
the timeline
works.
on that? What's your timeline on follow-up? Like, right, call's over now. What additional check boxes need to be done by you or your staff? And then you're done with the policy.
Ultimately, it's usually, it kind of depends on how the call went. If it's something where they're fully approved, they get their policy. Usually, I'll follow up, make sure they received it in the mail, and ask if they have any questions, whether that's in the first 7 to 10 days. Or depending on like certain carriers like Mutual of Omaha, they'll generate that electronic copy that I can send to them.
Okay.
And I'll send them that, and that's when I'll follow up with them. Hey, just emailed you over the electronic copy. Look it over. Let me know if you have any questions. From there, I'm pretty hands off. I want to start doing more like 30, 60, 90-day type follow-ups year. I'll do like an annual review. Usually I'll go through and if we've gotten new products or whatever the case, like then maybe it's something that a client that wanted let's say now they wanted a Mutual IUL a year ago. Now we have an Americo IUL and they couldn't qualify for that Mutual one. Then I can extend those offers out to them.
Awesome.
And stuff like that. But I want to start doing a little bit more follow-up, but I'm pretty hands off after that initial follow-up. As long as there's no issues, I love when I don't hear from a client, right? I love when it's just, hey, you're paying your monthly premiums, you understand the importance of it. If you have questions, you'll call me, we can add coverage, bump it down, whatever it is. And they know that I'll be the guy to get it done for them. So
It's awesome.